Welcome everyone to fundmonitors.com and how to make the most or get the most out of fundmonitors.com. First of all, just a little bit of housekeeping. We'll hopefully get this over in 30 minutes. Depending on questions, it might go a little bit longer. When we come to questions, you're all on mute, so it's going to be easier and a bit more controlled if you would type your questions in. Damon will moderate those questions. We will have time for pure questions afterwards. A lot of the questions will tend to be answered as I go through the presentation, but in the event that there's a question that needs to be answered at the time, then Damon will interrupt and ask me the question. So we've got a multiple types of users here this morning. So we've got fund managers, advisors, and investors. So I'm going to try and cover it for all. But if you have a specific angle, again, raise your hand or type the question in, and Damon will moderate that. What you can hopefully see in front of you is the fundmonitors.com website. As it says in fairly large letters, compare and track over 700 managed funds. There's no limit to the number of funds that can be on there. If there's a fund that's missing, for instance, or a fund you can't find, let us know and we will try to add it. There's a simple form of navigation for the website. If it's in orange, it means click on there and you will get to the next page, or you will go to that section. The first thing I'm going to do is log in. You can get a 45-day premium free trial if you're not already a registered user or a subscriber. If you do take up that offer, there's no need for credit card details. You just get a 45-day trial of all the functionality of the website. I might just very briefly mention that our business model is beneficiary pays. The simple logic of that is that anyone can get a lot of information at no cost. Fund managers can list their funds at no cost. But if you want more information, more in-depth information, more functionality, that's where the subscription comes in. And by all means, as I said, try the 45-day premium trial to check whether it's right for you. If I log in, then I'm going to be able to get the full functionality of the website. On the home page, we're divided into three sections. The home page really is the entrance to a whole range and depth of information. There is peer group analysis. We divide funds into various peer groups, make it easier to compare apples with apples. There is news, insights and fund news, performance reports, etc. There are videos and webinars, podcasts, etc., that are submitted either by us or by fund managers. And there is a featured fund on the home page. These featured funds rotate. And one of the things to remember about a featured fund is that is part of the benefit for a fund manager. If they want to subscribe or be featured fund, there is a payment involved in that. So these featured funds are not recommended funds, but they are featured, and they scroll through every 20 seconds, I think it is. And from there, you can see the full fact sheet on the fund. We'll come to that later. Let's have a look at the peer group analysis first. This is probably one of the most useful aspects of the website. You can see on the home page the 1, 3, and 5 year performance of these 15 peer groups that we divide into, or you can see full details. Click on the orange button and you'll see all peer groups, peer group comparison. And one of the things, we'll just look at the navigation. These little arrows here, chevrons, will reorganize or resort the tables. So each of these tables can be sorted using the little chevron arrows. You can also see there's a benchmark here. So if you wanted to look at the benchmark, the peer group versus the benchmark, you can see that. Bear in mind that these peer groups are the average performance of all the funds in the peer group. If we wanted to look at a specific peer group, you would click on the name of the peer group. So let's have a look at this one, which is equity long mid score. It's got global. Actually, I'd prefer to look at Australia. Sorry. There's a number of reasons for that. They're more localized funds. And again, we can sort using these little chevrons. You can sort using performance. So if we look at this, we look at 12-month performance, and it's sorted best down to worst. You'll see that the peer group tables are set in a series of tabs. You can look at performance, you can look at historical performance, and you can go back a number of years to look at the individual performance of the fund. You can look at risk tables, so it shows sharp standard deviation Sortino for 1, 3, 5, and 7 years. You can look at quintiles. We divide funds based on their performance within their peer group into bands of 20% or quintiles. And we then look at 6 key performance indicators of total return, monthly deviation, sharp, Sortino, downside deviation, and largest drawdown for that fund against its peer group. 5 green squares is obviously puts it in the top quintile, and you can see that this particular fund, Glenmore, is in the top quintile for 1, 3, and 5 years. It's blank for 7 years because it doesn't yet have a 7-year track record. There's a red dot in there which shows the performance of the underlying index, in this case, the ASX 200 total return, that shows the performance of that. You can see strategy details. So what's the strategy, asset class, geographic mandate, style, etc. You can move to the tab of key terms. So investor type, minimum investment, management fees, buy-sell spreads. You can look at ratings from a whole range of research houses. And you can look at availability. So which of these funds are available on which platforms? So if you're an advisor and platform availability is important, this again is pretty useful to you. Let's drill down and actually have a look at the underlying fund. So again, if we click on the name of the fund, we go to the fund profile. Fund profile, again, there's too much information for one page, so we divide it into tabs. As a forever free user, every user gets access to the fact sheet on every fund, all 725 funds in the database. And the fact sheet has a summary provided by the manager, a strategy summary provided by the manager, key terms, key statistics, cumulative returns against the index and the fund, and drawdowns, cumulative drawdowns, manager versus the underlying term, and again, the quintile rankings. The next tab provides a performance summary. Oh, just one thing on the fact sheet. If you're an advisor, this can be printed and used if you want to in a statement of advice. So it's a one-pager that's designed to be printed so it can be included in a statement of advice if you want to. Performance summary gives more information, some text description of the performance, updated every month. The performance analysis gives you a lot more information. So key facts, manager details, fund fees, the structure, ratings and availability, a performance review, historical performance on a month-by-month basis, and a series of charts, annual returns, cumulative returns, and this shows the fund, the index, and the peer group. Same with cumulative returns, volatility and risk standard deviation Sharpe ratio, performance in positive markets, performance in negative markets, drawdowns, Sortino ratios, and again, the quintiles and a description of the quintiles. Finally, if I scroll back up to the top of the page, we can see the full fund profile. Again, we're faced with the problem of having a lot of information here, so it's divided into tabs. Key facts, manager description, you'll see the manager description is more extensive. Performance and some charts. Investment details, performance and risk, key performance indicators. Advanced analytics, if you're really into analysing the fund and how it's performed over the last 6 months, but more importantly, over the years since inception, you will see a whole range of analysis comparing the fund versus the index. There's annual returns, monthly returns, performance in positive markets, and performance in negative markets, and more charts. Some of these are repeated on a variety of these tabs. Research and availability, news and insights will give you performance reports that we've collected from the manager, and you can read more of that. You can see the performance report that the manager has provided. And finally, documents. So within documents, there's the manager's report, but there's also product disclosure, if available, from the manager. So you can see that. On the right-hand side, there's a quick tab here. So wherever you are here, you can get straight to the fund news. You can get straight to the manager's report. You can contact the manager. This will send an email directly to the manager to say, please contact me. You can add the fund to the watch list, and you can apply online. Many of you may be aware of our sister company, Olivia 123, which is an online application process. And when available, there is a direct online application form from the fund manager's profile directly to their Olivia online application form. We won't go into too much detail about that now. We may leave that for another day. So having looked at that, there is, as I say, a complete analysis of every fund in the database. There's other functionality of the website. So for instance, if you don't want to look at the fund via peer groups, you can go to the fund selector page. And the fund selector page, as the name suggests, you can either look for a specific manager or a specific fund, or you can choose to look at selections of funds. You can choose them by peer group. So we can say we want infrastructure, fixed income, bonds, and let's say fixed income hybrid credit. You can choose by asset class. You can choose by market cap and style. You can choose by geography, fund domicile, and fund type. There's some advanced filter options: fund structure, fund status, investor type, minimum investment, and funds under management, etc. And if I go through there and find funds, this is going to give me my list of funds that meet the criteria I've provided. It tells you what your criteria was, and we've got 35 funds showing in this particular selector results table. And you'll see some commonality here. They're organized in the same table. You can see risk, quintiles, strategy details, and key terms. Just note that the quintiles won't exactly be comparing apples with apples, because we've selected different funds which might have different peer groups and therefore different benchmarks. Other things you can do is you can create a portfolio. So obviously, we're great believers in diversifying across multiple funds, and I can create a new portfolio. So you can select any fund to go in your portfolio. This could be an actual portfolio, or it could just be a paper-based portfolio that you're wanting to analyze how performance will go. If I start here, I'll just create some funds, or create a portfolio, select some funds. If I choose, let's just say 4 funds, this gives me the funds. And this is the starting date. So the date here is there. I'm going to start this April 2018. So I choose my start date. You see, I can't go back prior to the start date for this. I can copy that date to all funds, or I can put in a different date for a specific fund if I want to. And go to next. I've only chosen 4 funds here for just for speed. The investment amount, again, I can put the same amount in each fund, or I can change the amount invested in each fund. I can give a name to my portfolio. And I can save it. This is it might take a few seconds to do it, but this is going to calculate the performance of the portfolio as a whole, as well as the individual funds. So if I look at the consistency here of the funds, I've got the investment date, the investment, latest return date, current NAV, the percentage NAV at the current date, and what the annual return of the fund is. I can remove a fund from there if I want to. I can add a fund if I want to as well. If I want to add a fund, I can choose a date for that, and I can choose an amount. So that's added my new fund. I should have added my new fund. Sorry, it's told me I've already got DS Capital in that portfolio. So there's DS Capital in there. I can also reweight the funds if I want to. So if I put in a date for reweighting, I can add to my investment, and equally I can redeem from my investment. And it will give me my new calculation. So there's the new calculation. Further down on this page, it gives you the performance of the portfolio as a whole, and it will also give you the breakdown. It will give you the correlation between funds and also correlation, the various market correlations, full portfolio analysis, and graphs of your portfolio's performance and exposure. So what's your exposure, investor type, strategy, geographic mandate, redemption frequency, distribution frequency, performance fees, and management fees. You can obviously play around with this. You can create multiple portfolios, and with your 45-day free trial, you'll have access to this. Another function that is not used extensively but is very useful is the portfolio optimizer. The portfolio optimizer uses the database. I'm actually going to try this. I'm going to select a universe. So I'm going to look at equity long, small, mid-cap Australian funds. I want to see funds with a track record, minimum of 5 years. And let's find my universe. So here's the universe of funds that fit in to that criteria, which is equity long, small, mid-cap Australia. Again, I get all the tabs here, an analysis of risk and quintiles, etc. And I can either select or deselect these funds. So I can unselect all, or I can select all. I can select additional funds and mandatory funds. And what we're going to do, I can choose a date to go, I want 5 years returns. I can exclude funds without 5 years of data, and I want 10 funds in my portfolio. What this is going to do, and it can take a bit of time to do it, it's going to analyze the performance of each of these funds. It says it can take up to 10 minutes. I hope it doesn't do that. You can see it hasn't done that. But this is analyze the performance of all the funds. It has chosen 10 funds organized into 5 portfolios, each of which are organized along an efficient frontier. So this is historical performance. This chart here shows the performance versus the standard deviation of all the funds that meet the criteria. And you can see you've got risk 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And these interactive charts here will show you the underlying performance. And if I say that the one that I want is one with a standard deviation of 16 and performance of 10%, then I can build this portfolio. Give it a name. And using the portfolio optimizer, I've created a portfolio with historically the best performance by combining funds. Now, these aren't necessarily the 10 best performing funds. These are the funds that, when combined, provide the best return for this specific risk profile. And then all the functionality is the same. So fund breakdown, correlation, portfolio analytics. You'll see the correlation of these funds are quite high. And the reason for that is we chose only one peer group. So we said, create a portfolio only using equity, small, mid caps from Australia. So not particularly diversified. High correlation. And in fact, the performance of the portfolio as a whole, if I go to the portfolio, was good in good years, but not very good in 2022. If you're actually building this in reality, you'd probably want to make sure that the universe was more diversified than just selecting one peer group. Damon, I think we're coming up to our half-hour time limit. How are we going?
Yes, we are. That's correct, Chris.
Do we have any questions? Or
at this stage, I think you've been reasonably thorough. If there is any questions, if people just want to type them in, I'm sure we can answer them. Alternatively,
have I missed anything?
The only thing that you might show is the ability within custom statistics to be able to compare your portfolios one to another, which is quite a useful tool.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I haven't done that. Custom statistics allows you to, as the name suggests, create a custom report. You choose what you're wanting to see. So if we say, right, equity long, small, mid cap Australia, I'm just choosing that because we've used it already, and find funds. This finds all the funds in our universe, and I can select, unselect those. I might only want to see some of these funds. So I could say, right, I want to see this one, for instance. I do want to see this one. So I can take funds in and out of my custom statistics. I've probably got too many in here, have I, Damon? I don't know.
Oh, I think you'll be right.
Okay. I can select a benchmark. So let's have a look at the ASX 200 total return. I can look at a portfolio. So we can look at any of the portfolios, so my optimized portfolios, whatever it may be. And I can select a peer group. So it would be logical here.
Under selecting your portfolios, Chris, you could also choose the portfolio you just built, which I think was webinar model. Memory.
Okay. Let's have a look.
No, you're in peak. That's it. Yep.
Webinar demo 1.
Yep.
And I can have a peer group. Let's have a look at equity long, small cap Australia. I enter a name for the report. I won't bother a description. I can choose whether I want recent performance, general performance, which is obviously longer term performance. And I choose what I actually want to see. And I'm going to include a correlation table. And I want to look at it over 1, 3, and 5 years. I'm going to look at a date range. In other words, what I'm doing here is I'm just choosing exactly what I want to see. And I can run the report. Again, it's having to calculate a lot of information. It warns you that it might take 10 minutes, but generally speaking, hopefully, it takes less than that. I'll blame Damon if it takes too long because he asked me to keep all those things in there.
Aware of that.
Do we have any questions yet, Damon?
No, we don't. Once again, Chris, you've been very thorough.
This is like watching a kettle boil, really. We're obviously going through a lot of information here because we're dragging out things like correlation tables.
I think it's just worth noting what this will give you as an output is very similar to all of the other outputs that Chris has shown before, similar to the fund selector output. You'll have individual columns that you'll be able to sort by, a range of information that you can add and subtract. As Chris has mentioned, this is searching through many, many hundreds of funds and correlating individual pieces of information against individual dates. So it can take a few minutes. Someone's just, Kathleen has just asked a question. Is it possible to download information generated into an Excel spreadsheet? The answer to that, Kathleen, is yes. From this custom statistics report, there is a download button. I don't think it's going to play today for some reason as quickly as we want to, and I don't want to keep everyone on here. But yeah, the answer is yes. There's a download button which will essentially export it to an Excel spreadsheet.
The thing about that, Kathleen, is yes, you can download this. You can put it into an Excel spreadsheet. The benefit of keeping it and saving it within fund monitors is that it's saved for future use, and each month the performance is updated. So you put it into an Excel spreadsheet. Yes, you can certainly do things in Excel. Effectively, the fund monitors database is a spreadsheet of sorts. It's obviously an online spreadsheet. And having it saved and being able to update it is well worthwhile. I'm not going to persist with this. Of course, as soon as I go somewhere else, it will it will do it. So I can go back here. So there are a couple of reasons that we sort of limit or we don't encourage downloading into Excel spreadsheets. It's just more useful to have it in the fund monitors database and have all the information updated. A few other backgrounds on things. We collect our information directly from the manager. I probably could also briefly look at research, which I'll come to it in the moment. But we get our information direct from the manager. We upload information. We upload their performance statistics. We recalculate their performance statistics on a monthly basis. And we upload their performance reports, offer documents, etc. I might go back to the home page. And we're about 5 minutes over time, Damon. If there aren't any other questions?
No, that's all, Chris. I think we can probably end it there.
You can always ask a question, contact us, call us on the phone, send us an email, and we'll happily answer any questions on an individual one-on-one basis. So thank you very much for your time this morning. I hope we've covered everything that you want to cover or you wanted to cover. As I say, if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you.